Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and as you know, I give my opinion on the news, and today some information was shared with me, and it was about a lady, 47 years old, who was suffering from a lower respiratory tract infection. She needed a blood transfusion because of her low blood count. She had a daughter who was 18, Down syndrome daughter, who had learning difficulties and was totally dependent on her mother. The mother calls the ambulance or the 999 and says, "Look, I'm freezing cold. My daughter and I need help. Please send an ambulance." And of course, you have call handlers who think, "Oh, you're cold. What's so bad about that? We all suffer from the cold every now and then. Why don't you turn on the heater?" They have no health knowledge, no professional qualifications. They're call handlers who answer the call en route. They have a script for different situations and they read out that script. They have no way of knowing when something is an emergency and when something is not. When something somebody should be signposted or referred. They'll say, "Okay, we'll put you in touch with somebody and they'll get back to you in 24, 36 hours, who knows." But they have no way of diagnosing how serious a situation is when someone calls. If you scream and shout, you're considered as though you're exaggerating. If you're incoherent, you're considered as being not serious. And they can just end the call or close the call because you haven't answered their questions properly. This is probably the cause of why an ambulance wasn't sent out. The call handler said, "Oh, she didn't answer the questions or something, and we considered it abandoned call, and so we closed the call." That body was found, I think, their bodies were found about 3 months later. The daughter, the 18-year-old daughter, was 57 kilograms, 57. She had no food in her stomach at all, probably starved to death. The mother, she died of pneumonia. Goodness knows how long the daughter lived before she died, followed the mother. But can you imagine in this day and age where we've come to have a service, a national health service that people are paying into that has no empathy? They're taught not to have empathy. They're taught to just speak en route. And you'll notice if you've been to the hospital recently, no matter how people are groaning and crying and screaming, there is no emotion at all. They're just ignored, as though they're exaggerating. They're not really in pain, and even if they are in pain, they have to wait their turn. They've got to the point where they cannot diagnose an emergency. They don't know what an emergency is anymore. And the thing is that sometimes those who are in need of immediate help or intervention, those are the ones who are the quietest. Those are the ones who are not making a fuss. But whether you make a fuss or you don't make a fuss, the result is the same. You stay in line until it's your turn, and you have to pray to God that someone will intervene in time to save your life. That's happened in a lot of cases. So, what have I got here? This is what happens when humans ask a series of automated questions and expect certain responses that cannot always be answered when under distress. The assumption that everyone is exaggerating their symptoms. The assumption that everyone should be coherent. If not, they close down the call. The assumption that everyone can understand the questions that are being said to them. The assumption that the inability to answer calls means the call is abandoned or not answered or not urgent, because apparently they tried calling her back. The poor woman was dead. And instead of thinking, oh, we got a 999 call from that person, we need to send someone round there. Not that they could have, well, they might have been able to save her. But she's not answering the call now. She's not answering the phone. Let's send someone round there. Oh, no. That's too straightforward. They just totally ignore it and close down the call. The restriction over reasons that ambulances should be sent out. Most call handlers, yeah, you've got restrictions. I mean, now, really, really difficult to get an ambulance to come out to you. Most people die by the time it's got there anyway. Most call handlers are not health professionals. They recite from a script. Mother had been diagnosed with lower respiratory tract infection, needed blood transfusion due to low iron levels. The daughter was Down syndrome and had learning difficulties and was totally reliant on her mother. And like I said, 18-year-old Lorraine weighed 59 kegs at the point of the post-mortem examination. Both were found months afterwards. I think it's very, very sad, and it's indicative of the culture now. The culture now it's very automated. It's all to do with AI, it's all to do with tick boxes, it's to do with chatbots or bots, robots or whatever you want to call them. If you try to speak to an individual, it's very, very rare. You're ending up, the live chat doesn't understand what you're saying, so you keep repeating yourself, and as you're repeating yourself, you're getting more and more frustrated. And it's just like when they call you when you are in distress. What's your name? What's your address? How long have you lived at that address? Is there anybody else living at that address with you? And what is the reason for your call? And when did you start experiencing these symptoms? And how long do these symptoms last? And it's question after question after question. And when you are in distress, and when you are in pain, and when you are frightened, and when you feel alone and abandoned, how are you supposed to answer those questions in a logical way? How are you meant to be coherent? I think it's very, very sad, and I think the state of affairs, I mean, unless you can pay for a private doctor, and even then, you know, unless your situation is going to give them a reasonable enough income, they're no better, some of them. They do what needs to be done to charge you a lot of money. Oh, okay, we'll send off for some blood tests. Blood tests take a bloody couple of minutes. But they make you wait for a couple of weeks, and then they bill you. Oh, we'll do some further examinations. And unless something's going to cost them a lot of money, you don't get the care. In a lot of cases, you don't get the care that you're paying for. So with private, at least you get to see someone, even though you pay, and I think that is why you're paying. But as you get older, the cost of private insurance goes higher and higher and higher, even though you're living longer, even though you might be healthy. The private insurance is high. And then you have national health insurance, and you have to pray to God that you don't have an emergency. Well, the funny thing is, if you have an emergency that really requires emergency intervention, they're on it. They're on it. If they catch you in time. But a lot of times they don't. Anyway, that's all I've got to say for now. You take care now, and have a wonderful day. I hope my next video is a bit more uplifting. Bye-bye.